3-2 on the day. The 2 losses are on camera, so we're bringing him on. It's his 3rd chance to win one on camera. He's going to have to do it against Danny Jessup.
The only member of Team Metagame Gurus not yet qualified for the Players' Championship.
Danny wins the die roll. That's great for him. Starts on Forest. For Cedric, it's the Town Gossip Monger. Danny, Noose Constrictor. This is huge. Okay, this is a 1-of in his main. It's pretty unreal that he has game 1 against Mono White.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. If he gets to turn 3 and start casting Prized Amalgam until Cedric gets an Always Watching online, that's just larger than all of Cedric's creatures.
If Cedric can't remove it, Danny will gladly trade a card in hand for any of Cedric's cards. And here's a big one. Cedric plays Dragon Hunter, no second land.
He's done that 3 times on camera this weekend and has still not learned his lesson.
And you see Danny seizing the opportunity here. He casts Grapple with the Past, milling land, Haunted Dead.
So this is nice. If he needs a land, he can pick it up, but he could also have the option to have a Haunted Dead to cast on turn 4 in addition to one being an enable from the graveyard. This is a matchup where actually casting Haunted Dead is totally reasonable.
Yeah, the 1/1 Spirit's a great blocker, so is the 2/2 Body.
Yep.
And you see Cedric does not flip the Gossip Monger. Says, man, you have a Noose Constrictor.
I'm not trying to make that attack. Yeah, it would only take 1 card from the Noose Constrictor because until this draw step, Cedric did not have enough mana to pump the mob.
He'll play Knight of the White Orchid. Okay, so missing a land drop was bad, but this is a very good recovery.
Yeah. Now he'll have enough mana to cast any spell in his main deck. He has Always Watching mana. He could add another 1-drop to the battlefield this turn as well.
So gets the 1 mana. He does have a play. It's Thraben Inspector, so he's just building a wide board. Gets a clue. We'll pass over to Danny. It's Danny's 4th turn. Got Kozilek's Return in hand. Now remember, we're in game 1. Danny cannot cast that.
Though he does have multiple Haunted Dead in the graveyard and Noose Constrictor at the table, getting into that graveyard will not be difficult.
Yeah, I believe it's a 2nd Kozilek's Return. So the only missing piece now is an Eldrazi.
Yeah. For now, though, he has some significant tools to hold the fort.
Yeah.
He's able to cast a Prized Amalgam or just discard it to a Haunted Dead if he feels like he can take a hit on the chin this turn, get that all on the battlefield.
He's got a great place to work from, so he's going to pass the turn. Cedric flips the creature. Danny's hand is 2 Kozilek's Returns, a Prized Amalgam, a land, and a Distended Mindbender. So there's a setup here where he uses a Haunted Dead in the graveyard, discards a Kozilek's Return, a Prized Amalgam. He just, next turn, has Mindbender and Board Sweep online.
Yeah. Spends his time just chump blocking. I imagine if that's the sequence, what he's going to do, throw away the Noose Constrictor in combat if Cedric makes a big attack, activate the Haunted Dead on end step, even though you're missing out on blocking with the Spirit token, because that way the Amalgam will not trigger until your end step. So you can cast the Distended Mindbender, trigger Kozilek's Return, and then get the 3/3 after all that happens.
Update from the field here. A draw on table 3 from Ted Felicetti and Frank Scarron likely puts both of them into top 8. Frank's record not had that 3 losses, but as you can imagine, the tiebreakers are incredible.
Okay.
This does mean for Devin Kepke and Ross Merriam, they no longer have a shot at top 8. Cedric Phillips always watching, and here comes the team. But Danny's at 20. He can take some hits here.
Yep. So the choice here is whether or not he thinks he needs to use that Spirit token now to block, or if he values maintaining the Prized Amalgam at the end of all of this.
Well, I have a question then. If Danny's just 100% to do this Kozilek's Return play, like this is pretty free, right? Just jump with a bunch of stuff. They're all going to die.
Yeah, the issue is the Prized Amalgam is going to come around to die to the Kozilek's Return when he casts it next turn if he does this and makes this block now.
Right, I mean, all his creatures will die, right? So
right.
You should just chump them all away because they're already as good as dead.
Well, not the ones that weren't on the battlefield. The question is whether or not he's going to produce the Spirit now.
Got it. He makes the Spirit.
And decides he is at 20. He has some life to play with. I think it's marginal. I might have preferred to haunt the dead end step, but staying at 15 life and setting up Kozilek's Return is a very good position.
Sure. Danny goes to 15. Yeah, makes the chump blocks. Actually gets a card for his News Constrictor. It's not bad.
Yeah, a card that was dying anyway.
And untap. Prized Amalgam should be triggering here. That one's not actually optional. Cedric gets to ask whether he wants it to return. Yeah, it's got to return by the end of the phase.
Yep.
Not a trigger you're allowed to miss, actually, inside the rules.
Right.
The delayed zone change triggers have a slightly different rule set on whether or not you're allowed to miss them. If you remember playing with Obsidian Ghost Council, if I exiled it, I couldn't just forget to bring it back in my upkeep. It didn't actually work that way.
Nope. As soon as that was realized, there comes Obsidian.
So the judge is going to resolve this situation. It's going to end up in play now. It might be tapped instead of untapped. That may be the price that Danny pays. If we're already in Danny's main phase and the judge says he doesn't really want to back up, Cedric can put it into play now, which means it's tapped. So Danny, I think, would have gotten a free swing for... He could have just thrown it into the Incited Rabble.
Yeah, it's dying anyway.
Yeah, this isn't really going to change much. And for Jessup, he's going to go ahead and emerge Distended Mindbender. Has that Kozilek's return in hand, it's going to trigger, and so will the hand trigger. He'll first look at Cedric's hand before he decides if he wants to blow up all the creatures. He's probably blowing them up no matter what.
Right.
Cedric's hand. An Always Watching, 2 Inspectors, and a Knight. I actually really like this. Cedric's going to rebuild very nicely. Oh, it's a Declaration Stone and a Thraben Inspector. Apologies. He may have to take the removal spell.
Yeah, always watching as well.
Yeah. So a 1-drop, a 2-drop, a watching, and a kill spell.
Not taking Declaration puts him in trouble because that removal spell will clean up his board, and Cedric has some creatures that he can cast there. If you just take the creatures, you buy yourself a little bit of time. The Cedric still has the clue. He can reset fairly easily.
Yeah, Danny needs to make sure that after sweeping the board, he actually still wins the game.
Right.
Takes the Declaration, and yes, he will flash back the Kozilek's return.
And so this is what I was talking about with that Haunted Dead play. If he did it the other way, he would be at 11 instead of 14, but he'd already have a 3/3 on the battlefield. Now that's going to be coming back down the pipeline shortly here. He will be able to trigger the Haunted Dead again.
Oh, so you're saying if he had main phase, just gotten back Haunted Dead, played Mindbender?
If he just end step on Cedric's turn, got the Haunted Dead instead of blocking with the Spirit.
Because then it would come into play on his own end step.
Right.
That's pretty neat. Cedric will play Knight of the White Orchid. He knew about that one in hand. It gets a bonus planes. I like that. He'd have another creature. You pay 3 life points for it?
Yep. I think it's worth it.
Yeah, no, I'm in. Second Knight from Cedric. He'll pass. Remember, Cedric has an Always Watching in his hand. And a Thraben Inspector. Danny has perfect information. Danny has a Haunted Dead in the graveyard, a Prized Amalgam, and another Kozilek's return in hand. Sometimes Mono White beats the first sweeper. The second sweeper is frequently lights out. Danny just got to stay alive, and looks like he's going to go for Jace Vryn's Prodigy here. Land, Kozilek's return, one other in his hand. He'll just pass. Hoping to dodge a kill spell would be my guess. If Mindbender goes away, this is a tight spot again for Danny.
Yeah, there's a reason he took that Declaration in stone. He needs to hang on to this creature that actually eats Cedric's creatures in combat until he can set up another sweeper. If Cedric doesn't have a removal spell, what he has to try to do is go wide. If Cedric tries to go wide, then Danny's able to clean it up should he find that emerged creature.
We know Cedric's hand is Thraben Inspector, Always Watching. He drew another card this turn. Anointer of Champions the play, and second Always Watching. The Knights are 4/4s. They're getting there.
Yeah, they're 4/4s, and next turn when this Anointer can tap, you can actually start attacking into the Mindbender.
Prized Amalgam the draw for Danny. That's not too bad. Danny needs another Eldrazi to trigger the second Kozilek's return. Doesn't have it yet. Draws almost on cue. Does he have a second blue source for that Elder Deep Fiend he just drew?
Yeah, I want to say that's an island hanging out in the back of his hand there.
All right, that'll play then. Looks like he's going to discard. It's going to be another prized amalgam. Starting to do the graveyard things. Just like I said, with mono white, you beat the first sweeper, but the second one, that's harder. Jace now becomes the telepath.
Please find your name and find your seat. Again, modern challenge players, your next round pairings are now being posted. Please find your seat.
Second island, you're absolutely right. Now the Deep Fiend's online. That was a huge loot for Danny to be able to find the Eldrazi. He needed it now, too.
Yeah. He's getting into territory where he would be under pressure very quickly.
Jace pluses. Knight of the White Orchid shrinks. The question is, does Danny bluff and hold back the blocker, or does he just... I guess I was going to say he could swing the deep... It wouldn't make sense to swing the Mindbender as first strike would take it down.
Right.
He'll just pass. Maybe Cedric will give him another creature. You never know. Upkeep, stop. All right. Discards. Kozilek's Return and traverse the Ulfenvault to get back Haunted Dead. Trigger, make a spirit.
In response.
In response to that trigger, he will emerge Elder Deep Fiend. This way the spirit will actually enter the battlefield after Kozilek's Return.
Play this deck enough times, you know not to kill your own spirit.
5 damage to everything. We're in Cedric's upkeep, so he's going to tap his lands. Cedric will crack a clue in response, draw a card. Yeah, then everything taps. Okay, now it says, would you like to flashback Kozilek's Return? Danny, yes. Mindbender and all 3 of Cedric's creatures will leave the battlefield. Here's the spirit, and he'll pass. So now Cedric can draw his card for the turn. He draws a Plains. That's not bad. He'll play Thraben Inspector. It's a 3/4. He makes a clue. Danny's Amalgams come back. But Thraben Inspector's a 3/4, so... Yeah, there you go. Those guys can attack, I believe.
It's too strong. Does get to flying with the spirit and attack with the Deep Fiend. Danny's got to feel pretty good about this position.
Draws Gather the Pack for the turn. Look at his graveyard. He's got a Traverse. Here's the Gather the Pack, 2 mana. 5 cards. See another Gather, a Deep Fiend, a Haunted Dead, a Llanowar Wastes. Yeah, he's got Spell Mastery. He's got a Grapple in there to go with the Traverse, so he will take Haunted Dead and Elder Deep Fiend. And that should be enough. He very intelligently left up double blue when he cast that Gather, just in case he found a Deep Fiend.
Yep. He's already cashed in his Mindbender, so having the mana for the Deep Fiend just makes sense.
Swing everything. Thraben Inspector will get to eat a zombie, but 3, 4, 9. Correction, the Jace plus on the Inspector, so it won't eat a zombie.
Yep.
9 will just come across. Cedric will go to 11.
That'll play there, and even if the Amalgam were dying, he's got Haunted Dead going on. This is a great position for Danny.
Sack Elder Deep Fiend to play Elder Deep Fiend. Tapping many of Cedric's things. Inspector and 3 planes. So Cedric will crack the clue with the mana. Draw. And there we go, they all tap. Now he'll get to draw for turn. A little surprised to see Danny let go of that other Deep Fiend so quickly. I don't know that it'll come to much.
That was a very aggressive use of the Deep Fiend, I will say.
I kind of liked having 5/6s around, but then again, I also like tapping out Cedric, so there's some strength here.
The thing about it, but the way things are tapped now, Cedric has to produce some chump blockers to not just die on the next turn.
All right. Two white. What's he got? It's going to be Thalia's Lieutenant.
Actually, Danny has cast Grapple this game, correct?
Yeah.
So he has Jace on 3. He can actually flash that back, get the Deep Fiend he sacrificed, and tap down the rest of the blockers. So yeah,
this is he actually just has him dead,
yeah,
doesn't
he just rolled up the game.
Okay, so then now I like the play. seems better.
I've come around.
Yeah. We can't actually cast it. No, he can. No, it's great. Right? Yeah, this is great. It's close to 11. He can just cast Deep Fiends at forever. Oh, he's got another Kozilek's Return in his hand. He could do that too. Haunted Dead, Kozilek's Return in Jessup's hand. A Jace on 7. He's got a lot of plays in his graveyard.
Come on, Danny, do the thing. Grapple the Deep Fiend. Oh, you don't get to attack because you have to sacrifice your Deep Fiend on there. There's the issue with that line. You get to have the Deep Fiend back anyway.
He'll swing everything. I'm a big fan. So Cedric's got a 4/4 Lieutenant, a 3/3 Anointer. If he wants to kill the Deep Fiend, he'd have to double block it and go to 4. That seems fine.
Yeah, with that double block, you get the Deep Fiend off the table, which I think is significant.
You hope that Danny just doesn't have a land. That would leave him dead to a land. But Danny actually doesn't have a land, so. Unclear if Cedric has any line that wins here. Killing the Deep Fiend is certainly, like on the table, Cedric can see that Danny has a grapple and a Jace.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he doubled the Deep Fiend. So Thali's Lieutenant's down, he kills Danny's Eldrazi. That's perfect. Cedric goes to 4. And the issue is that Danny's actually only at 14. So Cedric doesn't have a lethal crackback.
And Danny could have used the Jace to make it so that double block did not kill the Deep Fiend, though using the Jace to get a backup Deep Fiend also totally reasonable here.
So it turns out maybe Danny has them both ways. He gives flashback to traverse the Ulfen Vault. We see creature, sorcery, land, instant. So yeah, he'll just search up another Deep Fiend. He has the mana for it.
This Elder Deep Fiend card is not remotely
reasonable,
right?
It's great.
Can they rotate that one out of standard too?
Yeah, I traded all mine away a week ago. I got bad cards for them. Kind of regretting it right now. It's got something. We're not even going to say what the other half was. It's embarrassing.
And Danny Jessup takes game 1 by casting some combination of his spells that are better than all of Cedric's spells.
Yeah, I mean, you look at this. It was the second sweeper, right? The first one was good. The second one won it.
Yeah, Cedric specifically was able to cobble together the doubled Knight of the Right Orchid, which having all that first strike power was very significant, but then the second sweeper, it doesn't matter what Cedric was doing.
Big plays here. So we're going to go and look at the sideboard. Start off on Cedric Phillips' side. The mono-white deck often banks on winning game 1. Didn't happen here. So I love the sideboard is so simple. 4 Captains, 4 Archangels, 4 Gideons, 2 Silk Wraps.
So 19th Plains, slam dunk, best card in the sideboard.
Every match comes in.
Every match, it's great. 4 Gideon allies and a card, get you some Planeswalkers so I can play that way. The Silk Wraps seem a lot better here than they are against Team Emerge. I think they're good in both matchups, but here you really want to tag Danny's Jace. It can be very significant for his setup. You can even take care of Prize Amalgam if he starts looping that over and over again. Silk Wrap seems great. Archangel of Ties plus Always Watching is something that Cedric likes to get out of Kozilek's Return trigger range. We could see Archangel here as well.
Yeah, I do like Archangel because of Danny's kind of swarming, and he's always chump blocking with bad things that come back.
Right.
Like, let's punish him for that, right?
Yeah, let's tax some of that nonsense.
On Danny Jessup's side, 2 Transgresses, 2 Collective Brutalities, 2 Pulses, 2 Ultimate Prices, 2 To the Slaughter, an Obliteration, a Winnower, a Languish, a Painful Truths, another Languish, and a Mountain.
Languish is obviously solid here. Ultimate Price is an efficient removal spell. Collective Brutality is kind of like more copies of Ultimate Price. Unlikely you're really losing the duress mode, though. You can use the gain life, they lose life mode. That's totally fine. You can just discard a card. Totally reasonable. To the Slaughter, I think, is a little slow here, but he does have, if he expects Gideon and suspects that Gideon's a problem, there is an argument for the To the Slaughter as well.
Okay, yeah, he has 1 Languish in his sideboard. We just wrote it down twice. But yeah, I mean, I actually think his sideboard's really well positioned here, right? Between Brutality, Ultimate Price, Languish, just a lot of cheap things that kill creatures.
Yep, a 5th sweeper kind of thing to supplement those Kozilek's returns with the Languish.
And then the Gem of Mountain. Way into that in this matchup. That looks great.
Yeah, assuming that he has a draw that lines up where it's reasonable to traverse into Mountain, that's just more sweepers. Doesn't have to rely on actually triggering the return. He can just cast it.
Well, Kaladesh is on the way, which means that, of course, SCG is on the way with another great premier offering. This is SCG Regionals. It's coming up. You're going to want to put this one on your calendar. So first of all, registration is now open for it, and you're going to want to be able to do that. We have this unique playmat, the Robin Alfard playmat and token. These are given away by this art by Kristen Plesko as a prize, exclusively to the first 200 players to register for each regional. This is in just over a month. It's the week after your. So see, here's how it's gonna work. We're gonna release Kaladesh. The week after, you can play GP Atlanta, get all your singles that you need for the set because it's a limited event. You're gonna crack packs.
Right.
After that, well, now I want to play my standard deck, SCG Regionals, the very next week on October 15th in standard. So this is part of the SCG tour, which means if you top 8, there's SCG points, up to 20 for the winner of each of the regionals. There's cash prizes, and anyone finishing in the top 8 gets a qualification to any SCG Invitational coming in the next year. So you could use it for the Season 3. If you can't make that one, you could use it for one of the first 2 Invitationals in 2017. Of course, all of this, you can find the locations near you as the registration's open and the places are announced. We have 15 locations in the United States. You see them here on the map. You see the list there. So find out if you want to register, get the location, find out exactly where the site is in the city. All of that's available at starcitygames.com/regionals.
Good chance you'll be finding me at Minnesota Regionals casting Elder Deep Fiend and some combination of other cards.
I'm sure there's some build around me unplayable card that I'll register as a 4 of and then play regionals with. I just don't know what it is yet. We don't have the full spoiler.
And then put 4 Elder Deep Fiend in that deck too?
Maybe. Maybe. You know, how many Prism Rings are in the new set? Right?
It is
That's
an
gonna matter.
artifact. It is an artifact block.
I really liked the look of that. We had a mono blue prison deck make it into day 2. If you didn't catch round 7 of yesterday, the idea that I can play take inventories, that was great.
They previewed a legendary land that gains a life every turn if you control 3 artifacts.
Okay.
Now it's legendary, so you're limited to
Okay,
one
well,
life a
yeah.
turn, but a life.
I can traverse for it.
Yes, you can traverse for it.
Have to have Delirium. So Danny Jessup, he's taking a mulligan to 6. The last man on Metagame Guru is looking for his spot in the Players' Championship. He's hoping to join his teammates. At 24 years old, the older of the 2 Jessup brothers has 8 top 8s and 1 win, just about right. You know, one out of 8. He also has an invitational top 8, and it really is part of this up-and-coming team on the Pro Tour. He's a stock manager by day, and by night, he's a Magic Pro, I suppose. You know, Danny Jessup was one of the, once again, knocking on the door. He's seeking one of the at-large invitations at the end of 2016.
A New Yorker who is a fan of New York sports teams.
Yeah, from New York sports fan. Then we listed a bunch of New York teams.
So you might say that he is a creative type.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, New York has multiple teams in each of these sports, so
It's hard to pick.
there is selection, right?
There's an illusion of selection.
Well, yeah, a lot of it's geography based. You know, depending on what part of New York you live in, you're kind of priced into cheering for a certain New York team.
Yeah, certainly.
I did notice that with each of them, he seems to be cheering for the one that that has the most championships.
Well, it just
Right.
makes sense, right?
Yeah. I like celebrating championships.
I like winning.
Yes, I'll pick the Yankees. They sure win. I mean, the Mets are good too, but
If you sit down to be a sports fan and you say, I want to celebrate the maximum possible times, bet on the Yankees, right?
there's a good history in baseball that being a solid play.
As a Minnesota resident, I can tell you that the Yankees are very good at playoff baseball.
Yeah, we never beat them. When our players get good, when we get a player that gets too good, they buy him from our team. It's pretty great. I don't see what's wrong with this system. Yeah, okay. Danny looks like he's going to 5. It's going to be a tough one. He's on the draw on 5 against humans.
Yeah. He's looking for green source, second land, some green enabler on turn 2. Maybe you get Haunted Dead into Amalgam. Maybe you just have to cast Haunted Dead. Flip over Kozilek's Return somewhere in here. Cast an Eldrazi.
Well, the neat thing is his cantrips, if they hit well, can get him multiple cards worth of value.
Yes, these selection spells, when they hit, they're phenomenal. You're not just using Gather or Grapple to get one card, maybe even 2 cards out of them, but just flipping over Kozilek's Return is so much value.
Yeah, it's not just Gather finds one creature. It's Gather finds you a creature, mills you a Return and a Haunted Dead and a Prized Amalgam, and they say, hey, that's a pretty good Magic card.
Yes. There's a reason that they're relatively careful about printing these engine pieces. In particular, if Satyr Wayfinder were still legal in Standard, that'd be totally.
I would play it in this deck.
Yeah, that'd be too much. That'd be unreasonable.
Danny has kept on 5. Cedric starts on Dragon Hunter. For Jessup, it is going to be a Llanowar, Wastes, and a Traverse. If he gets the basic mountain, Cedric's going to have to be on notice here. Island.
And this is a 3-color deck. You really need all 3 of the colors as well, so it's not a lot of mulligan to 5s that are happy to go find a mountain.
Cedric hits for 2. Danny down to 17. He had to take a point of damage off those wastes. Now Cedric's deciding on his next turn. Let's just Savannah Lion it up. Another Dragon Hunter, and okay, reverse Savannah Lions. 3-bit Inspector.
Lion Savannah.
Makes a clue.
Please make your way to the pairings board and find your seats. Once again,
Danny draws Grapple. Plays that island he found. May not have another land, so he's going to gather the pack here. That's not going to find him a land, but it might find him something. Or it might just mill a bunch of lands.
Okay.
The last one was big, right?
The last 2 were big. He found a hit, the Jace, which should help him shape up his hand, and of course putting Kozilek's Return in the graveyard. Big part of what this deck's trying to do.
Big part of what Cedric's deck's trying to do is attack. Here's Styles Lieutenant, 3 counters on the creatures. A swing for 8. Danny's at 8.
The white creature deck casts a white creature. Everything is looking perfect on that side.
And that's game. We're on to game 3. So, you know, if you didn't have a chance to play the SCG bingo cards we had this weekend, I'm going to say card player 1 won. I got to win it this morning, but if the game is blackout, you're hitting all of them. Turn 4 kill. We've had it's just great.
I'm for sure missing on some of this stuff. I got teased multiple times by Days Undoing.
We had multiple Days Undoing decks on camera. Gather the pack, taking 0 cards. Mulligan to 5 and win. Those have all happened.
I talked to Todd Stevens last night, and he told me that if he drew the blue source, he for sure would have cast that Days Undoing, which made it even worse, but I at least know he would have done me that solid.
Danny Jessup and Cedric Phillips going to go to a 3rd deciding game. Danny milled a 5 on the draw there, and that's always a scary spot against mono white. You hope that they stumble in some way. They didn't. And Cedric takes the game pretty handily. It's easy though, because you can. I think in Danny's spot, like psychologically, I can always chalk those up to not caring, because I would look at that draw, and if I was Danny, say, I'm not sure 7 cards would have beaten that. You know, it's like my mull of 5 didn't count.
I was up a game.
Yeah. Now I get to be on the play. So these players are going to get ready for the 3rd and final game. Remember, the winner of this is in top 8. The loser is out. Now, if you are joining us, whether on StarCityGames.com or over on Twitch.tv, you're going to want to make sure you're part of our Twitch subscriber program. So you can join us over in the feature match area all weekend in the subscriber-only chat. And coming up, it's the You Decide the quarterfinals. So what this means is at the conclusion of this round, we wait a half hour. And then as the players get ready for top 8. Then in a half hour, we open voting for 15 minutes as to what match you would like to see. We'll post the top 8 bracket, the top 8 decks. We'll have the deck lists available on the website. Cheer for your favorite person, your favorite deck. And this is going to be a great top 8 to look at. We already have in the top 8 Shaheen Sarani on Esper, Todd Anderson playing Teamer Emerge. Same with Noah Walker. So players from every team. Ted Felicetti, kind of the up-and-comer, the 8-0 unknown from the Invitational. He's really making a run at this Season 3 leaderboard. Frank Scarron, probably one of the players with a ton of Pro Tour pedigree. This is just a great-looking top 8, including the winner of Danny Jessup and Cedric Phillips. It's going to be great.
Yeah, you're going to have a pick of a lot of great players, some really sweet decks.
Yeah, what do we have? And we have Black-Green Control, Esper Control, 2-Teamer Emerge. Frank Scarron's playing Sultai Emerge.
If we're lucky, Jacob Hagen wins his winning in with Blue-Green Crush.
A Bant company from Felicetti, so there is going to be Bant. It's not going to be a Bantless top 8. Yeah, we have Carpenter versus Hagen. That's Crush versus Teamer Emerge. That's on our backup. They're still playing.
Of course,
and then this matchup.
Nothing against Brad Carpenter. It'd be awesome to see him top 8 as well.
Both players going to 6 here for the deciding game. Danny will be on the play.
Cedric not playing a deck that mulligans well. Danny has some mulligans to 5 that can really function very similar to his 7-card hands if his Gather the Packs are particularly kind to him. He does lose a lot of ability to activate Haunted Dead multiple times if he mulligans too much, which is a problem for his deck.
It's just another thing, right? The more proactive a deck is, the less it wants to mulligan.
Generally, yeah.
I hate mulliganing. Every deck I play mulligans poorly.
I play fairly reactive decks, but rarely do I have a lot of haymakers, so my decks don't always mulligan super well either.
Yeah, Delver decks are medium at mulliganing. They're
Yeah.
better than Ramp. Ramp, that deck mulligans, it's horrible. You're like, on 5 cards, say, I can't make my spell in time. There just aren't enough cards for that to work.
And I'm dead.
But if I play my 6-drop on turn 6, will that win? All right, we're underway. Game 3, both players have kept on 6s. Danny starts by Evolving Wilds for an island. Cedric plays a turn 1, 2-1, Expedition Envoy.
So far, everything looks okay. We're playing Magic.
Collective Brutality in the opener for Danny. That's great against this deck. Got to make sure he can hit his lands. It's always a concern.
And Declaration in Stone is a fairly powerful card against Danny's deck. I'll be curious if and when we see the Brutality cast, if he goes for the Duress mode.
Turn 2 Jace from Danny. And I actually really like his hand. He's got Brutality, Kozilek's Return, Kozilek's Return. Now, it's pretty funny when you look at the fact that his lands are island forest, so none of them cast anything. Grapple's his last card.
Can he naturally find that basic mountain here?
That'd be huge. Cedric, triple 1 dropped. Once again into Savannah Lions and reverse Savannah Lions.
One-time dealer for the top 8. Show me mountain.
Haunted Dead. Whoa.
Sure.
He can grapple this turn for the Evolving Wilds and do it next turn. I know that's...
Well, by then, Cedric will have a Planeswalker.
That's the issue here. Ugh.
His odds were like really bad to find that mountain, but how cool
Yeah.
would that have been?
Yeah. I mean, and I think it's the right play. He Evolving Wilds turn 1 for the island. I guess if he really wanted to play conservatively, that's not even real. I would say he could have Wilds for the swamp to cast Brutality, but you got to play for the Jace. That's just the right line.
Yep. Yeah, I don't know if he has the 3rd land available naturally, so it doesn't really make sense to start finding the mountain on turn 1.
He'll discard Haunted Dead. And now no choice here. He's just going to have to grapple. Flips Deep Fiend, grapple, and blue-black duel. It's a matter of Evolving Wilds versus Dual Land.
He already can't cast a spell this turn,
Right.
so I like the Wilds.
Play and pass. But now it's going to be tougher because Cedric gets a Planeswalker.
Yes.
He will draw. Looks like another Expedition Envoy. You have to decide in your Danny spot, you go for Swamp or you go for Mountain. He's got 2 returns and a Collective Brutality.
Yeah, and you definitely are waiting for the end of Cedric's turn. You see if he piles on here, or exactly what his strategy is. Now, Cedric knows that Danny's bringing in the mountain here. Cedric knows that Kozilek's Return is the card that he cares about. So I imagine he's going to respect this Evolving Wilds for mountain. Especially Danny flipped over Sunken Hollow, which is really good for the mana base of this deck. It gives you 2 colors instead of 1. So Wild strongly signals that Kozilek's Return.
Gideon Battle Forged. +1. It does the Gideon +1 taunt. It only does it up to 1 creature, so it has that. On mine, has +1. Makes a creature indestructible and untaps it. And like most Gideons, it muscles up and turns into a 4/4.
And like some Gideons, it can taunt creatures. I think part of the flavor of Gideon is that he's really annoying.
People just want to hit him.
Yeah, everyone just wants to punch Gideon in his stupid perfect jawline.
Doesn't do much. That's the worst part. You know that guy, and you're like, I want to hit you, but it's not going to, you're not going to shut up even if I do. Thalia's Lieutenant from Cedric and a swing, and it's a big one. 8 damage puts Jessup down to 10. The Kithian will become Gideon. And also Cedric gets a 3rd point of toughness onto that Thraben Inspector.
Now what Cedric can do here is he can make either the Expedition Envoy or the Thalia's Lieutenant indestructible, more likely the Lieutenant.
Gross. So then Danny's Kozilek's Return does nothing. It kills 1 creature. Yeah, he'll make Envoy indestructible.
I suppose the Envoy already has 3 power and Cedric is missing his 3rd land drop. It's tough to make the Lieutenant huge.
Well, hold on. If Danny casts Kozilek's Return, he loses his Jace. Cedric attacks with Gideon for 4, Envoy for 3. I mean, yeah, so Danny will go to 1.
He's able to flip his Jace here.
Okay, so he gets to keep a Planeswalker. Danny will go to 3.
Even he's still
Gross.
in trouble, though.
Gets a mountain. Nice choice of mountain. That one from Ice Age. I always thought it was weird that that wasn't a snow-covered mountain.
It looks almost exactly like the snow-covered mountain.
Well, it's covered in snow.
Yes. That is one of the primary elements of the style guide for snow-covered mountain.
It's covered in snow.
Is a mountain is covered in snow.
Draw from Danny. No land yet. Drew, I believe, Traverse, so he can get the land drop that way if he wants. And he will traverse the Ulfin Vault for Jessup. Going to go ahead and get a basic swamp. Believe could have gotten a non-basic if he wanted. He has creature, land, instant, sorcery. Could have gotten a dual land. Not too much difference. Gets the swamp. Plays it. Jace can flip, can block, and then turn into a walker. Got Collective Brutality, has Kozilek's Return. He'll pass.
Yeah, this way the Jace can absorb more damage. Also, Cedric won't be able to tack it on this turn.
Yeah, also what I like is the Envoy is no longer indestructible.
Right, if he does this before, Cedric is able to activate the Gideon along those lines. Presumably the Gideon wants to attack on this turn, but you're able to close that off anyway.
A draw here from Cedric. The hat goes from backwards to forwards. Now it's off.
Yeah, Cedric has a lot of experience with baseball caps. Knows quite a few positions.
Okay, back on, but now crooked. I like the play.
Mm-hmm. The crooked hat is a sign of weakness. It may be a tell that Danny can pick up on.
Siding here. He doesn't. It looks like he does not have another land. Update here for top 8 from our backup feature. Brad Carpenter last weekend lost a bunch. So close to top 8ing the Invitational 2 weeks ago. It's going to fall short again this weekend as he loses the backup feature match. But the winner, and maybe the most interesting deck in the top 8, is Jacob Hagan. He moves to 34 points. He's playing Green-Blue Crush. Now, he's going to have to wait to be sure that he's in top 8. There's a chance that he falls to 9th with a breaker jump. But in all likelihood, Jacob Hagan earns spot number 7 in the top 8 with his victory.
Possibly the only player casting Elvish Visionary in this tournament. Likely to make the top 8 here. Really exciting for that. Rough end for Brad Carpenter, of course, an excellent player. Now we have some action here. Cedric does turn the Gideon into a creature and just decides to get aggressive.
The muscle mage, as you like to say. It'll swing in. Then Danny will block, but before he beats up Jace, Jace will slink away and elude him as he becomes a planeswalker.
Jace has been bullied many times in his history. He's no stranger to running, and you always have the option to run. You don't have to. You don't have to fight.
Discards the force, and there he goes. Becomes a telepath unbound. Now, we're still before damage. Here's the Kozilek's return. So Cedric loses 2 of his creatures. He only connects for 2 damage. He has Danny down to 8.
Though we'll see what Cedric has from a follow-up.
Knight of the White Orchid. Gets a Plains. Maybe another follow-up. And you got to go back to that turn where Danny missed on that 3rd land. If there wasn't a Planeswalker on the board, you'd feel good about Jessup's chances, but it's all sorts of a headache right now.
If he could have either set up Kozilek's return or just had black mana to cast the Collective Brutality and killed the Kythian.
There are still chances, though, for Danny Jessup. He'll draw. He's got Haunted Dead, and he has a Deep Fiend in hand. If he can somehow survive, maybe there's a way.
Yeah, the game's not over. And you were talking earlier when he traversed, he found that basic swamp, and Danny just has the 1 blue source on the table.
Yeah, if that could come back to get him. It's weird because when you think about getting a land with Traverse, you forget that, well, yeah, when you Delirium, you can get a nice land.
It's a nice looking swamp.
Yeah, I do like, they're all Ice Age, which I'm assuming you like them, the set matching on them.
Yeah, I like the old border cards that are black bordered.
You see he's got Collective Brutality here in hand. Elder Deep Fiend. Kozilek's Return. All right, so the judge issuing both players a slow play warning here during this game. So if we go to turns, there will be extra turns. This is the first warning for both players, so no penalty on it. But that warning will follow them into the top 8 for whoever wins.
Cedric slow play playing mono white aggro Phillips. Head on the table here.
Even every deck in Standard is really hard right now.
You're not wrong. Even this mono white deck. He has to manage a lot of stuff. Every deck has some kind of Plague Wind effect against Cedric's deck.
Jace will -3 to give Traverse the Ulfenvault flashback. Danny will flash it back. He's going to go get, I assume, another land. It's another basic. It's a basic island. Yeah, we have instant sorcery land creature. So yeah, Danny could still be getting nice lands here. Or maybe not. Maybe he's missing sorcery. Oh, crap. Apologies here to Danny Jessup. He had sorcery up until now that he cast Traverse. I think he lost his sorcery on that one. Noose Constrictor in his hand along with Collective Brutality, but he can't play them because he doesn't have another green for the Constrictor. Kozilek's Return, Elder Deep Fiend. Trying to puzzle together how he survives this turn.
Cedric does have 2 creatures that die to Kozilek's Return here. Though outside of that, 6 power of attackers.
Danny passes. In a pinch, he can use that Brutality to gain life. Back to Cedric. He draws. Says any effect during upkeep? No. Draws the card. Gideon, Knight, 2 Inspectors, 2 Clues for Phillips. He's close. We're here. And now, let's just anthem it up. Always watching. That's going to make a lot of damage. It makes 8 return-proof damage.
Well, that makes those creatures that don't die to return lethal. That's 6 across 2 bodies.
Yeah, I don't know if Danny has an answer. 5 from the Gideon, 3 from the Inspector. Even if Danny returns in response to this, he is still dead.
Yeah. All Cedric has to do is turn that Gideon into a creature.
I think Danny might know it.
Yeah, Danny doesn't have anything. There's no way he could make another Deep Fiend happen here. All he has is that return.
Cast Kozilek's Return in response. Yeah, it takes care of Cedric's 2 creatures, but it's still lethal. Always watching on the board. plus by Gideon. It makes it 0, makes it 5, 5 and 3. That's 8. That's the match, and it'll be Cedric Phillips into the top 8 with mono white humans.
Still got it, never lost it. Cedric Phillips, congratulations.
Strong tournament for him. Strong tournament as well for Danny Jessup. Now, you look at some other players missing this. Danny Jessup losing his win in, Brad